Podcasting from Ohio, the Buckeye State, this is I'm Married to an African. Being married is hard work, but try being married to someone from a different culture. It's like trying to turn around on a one-way street. So let me help you navigate around all the obstacles. This is your host, Dehadi C., a queen who fell in love overseas in Dakar. Now, years later, 2 kids, a bunch of jobs and ups and downs, we're all still here together. It's morning here in the Buckeye State. And our episode today is titled Too Legit to Quit. First of all, let me start off and say this is not the podcast for bashing our men from different cultures, i.e., I'll narrow it down to African men of different cultures because I'm in that community, African American, married to an African. A lot of times I hear the negatives. And I, for one, used to be one of those, like always, talking about them. But at the end of the day, I chose him. He chose me, and we're going to make this work in the midst of all of the other things that we have going on. So if you're looking for that kind of podcast, I apologize. This is not the one for you. I'm not going to sit on here and bash all Africans and say these African men just want a visa, yada, yada, yada. I am here for the women and the men who are saying, help me make this work, because I am still saying, help me make this work. I just feel like there's some things that I've been through that I could definitely help you navigate through. Don't do what I did. Do what I say. Isn't that how it goes? Do as I say, not as I do. Something like that. I'm just saying, I've learned and we're still here together. And so I just want to help you along the way. So yeah, too legit to quit. Like I said, 15 years ago, my husband and I met. We were in our early 20s. I met him overseas, traveling with a West African dance group of which I had belonged to. I was dancing traditional West African dance since the age of 8, And so at the time, I was in college. The director, my husband's uncle, decided to take a group to West Africa to train and enhance our knowledge of West African dance, music, culture, everything. So I get over there. My husband's a drummer. I'm a dancer. It just so happened that it happened like that. I always tell people I did not go looking for an African. And I think that that's very important, because oftentimes people believe that I went looking for this specific person. And now that we have this African dance company here in Columbus, Ohio, it was all just something that I had created, some fantasy. No. I was not interested in solely being with an African. I do not romanticize that whole European ideology. I want me a Mandingo warrior. No, I want me a man that's going to love me, take care of me, respect me, that share my interests in some of them, not all of them. I'm not super controlling like that, but I'm just saying that's just how the cookie crumbled. He was so cool. And the craziest part is he spoke absolutely no English, like one word, hi, that kind of thing. And it was really funny. Now that I reminisce on the stuff, it's like he was telling me that he loved me, and I'm like, no, you like me, right? Pump the brakes. And I know all my women who are out there dating an African man or married to an African man, in that courting process, they go hard. I love you, you my wife, it's me and you forever against the world. And it's like we just met an hour ago. Pump the brakes. So I recall just saying often, you don't love me, you like me. But he was infatuated with me. What can I say? So, one day we were sitting there, and I stayed 2 weeks. It wasn't like I stayed a month, but I stayed 2 weeks, and I just felt like there was an intense connection between he and I. So he was like, I know you. And I'm like, what? Again, very broken English. Me, very beyond broken French. I'm talking about our conversations were more like playing a game of charades than actually speaking. So he pulls out this picture of me eating at his uncle's daughter's naming ceremony. And now at the time I was probably a teenager, but he held on to this picture of me. He was like, I know you. Like when I saw this picture of you, it blew my mind. Like, are you serious? So these things that just happened while we were together in Africa, not even identifying each other as boyfriend or girlfriend at this time, but it was just like this intense connection. So fast forward a little bit, it's time for me to leave, and I say, give me your number. Let me tell you, we are talking about early 2000. So like the fact that he didn't have a cell phone, like we don't got no phone, like what? I mean, his country was not about his country. He could not afford a phone at the time. And that's cool. So he gave me the house number to the lady across the street. I'm calling this house lady or whatever. But I'm saying all this to say, when I returned, I called this house lady. I'm saying all this to say, in your relationship with someone from a different culture, you gotta be in it or not. Like there's no gray area. Everybody is learning who each other is, what each other likes, dislikes. You're gonna have all these naysayers in your ear, like, what are you doing? He don't even speak English. This man ain't even got a phone. I was too legit to quit. I was in it from the get. And I think that's something that you look at it and you just say, wow, that's just how it happened. But from the very beginning, when I called him, he was like, I got back to the United States, I called him and he's like, you called me? And I'm like, yes, I called you. And he's like, oh my gosh, right? And so again, we speak very little English and Wolof for French. So I'm just like, hey, he's like, hey. And so from there, it just kind of blossomed into a relationship, and we were just committed, so you have to remember how you start your relationship. It's extremely important that if you started off on this, I'm interested in knowing more about you and you solely, not this whole I got a friend on the side type of deal. No, like give yourself the chance to really know and understand who this person is, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to do something that's extremely irritating, right? Especially if they're from a different culture. They're going to do things that you just completely are objective to and you don't understand. But that doesn't mean that it has to be hard or that it has to be over. You have to be legit with this person, like full on. I need to understand who you are before we go to the next step, and what your life, what your culture, what are those things that you have to be happy? What do I have to be happy? My husband and I dated for 2 years like this. And as we continued, language was enhanced, and a lot of our conversations were via letters. Like I have a box full of letters from when I was in my 20s, a junior in college, just writing this man because I was committed. And so what I'm saying to you early on in these relationships with people that are from different cultures, you have to be committed to the process of understanding who they are, understanding yourself, and then vice versa. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm saying you have to do all the work. No, this is a team effort. He had to do work too. But yeah, that's how we originally met, and the level of commitment that we had for each other. Just, like I said, before the marriage, we were legit. We weren't quitting. People were probably like, she's going all the way back to the United States. She got a boyfriend. No, I didn't. So that's number one. Soon after, I went back in 2004. My first trip was in 2002. I went back in 2003 just to see him again. Obviously, it was like, is this real? And it every time I went back to see him, it just solidified that I was making a really good choice in wanting to be in this person's life and allowing this person to be in my life. Fast forward, I don't know if you guys watch 90 Day Visa. I am completely and utterly obsessed because honestly, 9 times out of 10, what you see on television is exactly how the process goes. Like you fall in love with somebody overseas or, not of your culture, and you're just learning. You're just learning. And it's unfortunate that they're learning lessons on television for the world to see. But that's exactly how it is. You're learning these lessons. So the first lesson that we learned once we had gotten married was how to bring him here. That 90-day visa process is hell. And it's really not, it's okay. Let me take that back. The waiting process is hell. The process in itself is just legitimizing that you are who you say you are and he is who you say he is, and you're not helping this random person just come into the United States for a couple thousands of dollars, because we know people do that, right? People actually accept money and marry someone and for them to come here, which always bugs the hell out of me, because it's like $7,000. Girl, that ain't nothing. What you gonna do with it? And then you have to be with this person for all these years and have their name on your lease. It ain't worth it. Okay, I digress. Anyway, so this 90-day visa situation with the paperwork, and then, you send them off something and then you wait 3 months and they send you back something and you wait 3 months and they send you something. So by the time all the paperwork had gotten finished, he was accepted, and then he came to the United States. And again, Too Legit to Quit, this is where the real work starts. This whole idea of me going over to his country and seeing him and being on quote unquote vacation. Yeah, it's real good. But when he came here, the work started. And when I say the work started, I mean the work started instantaneously. My husband got here in March. I was pregnant in April. Okay? Yeah, you talk about getting to know somebody. So let me just say, ladies, don't do that. Don't do that to yourselves. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how mature he is. I don't care how ready you are to have children, how perfect he would be as a father. Do not set yourselves up like that. Okay, we were young. He had just gotten here. We were both starting our lives as adults. We had no set career path. He was coming here not speaking any English, and we're going to doctor visits and I'm translating. I'm emotional. I'm hormonal. I'm a first-time pregnant person. I mean, this man couldn't even drive a car, so why did we do that? I have no idea. I would definitely say avoid that as best as you can, because it only creates more problems that you have to work through. And sometimes those issues don't get worked through until later on, because if you haven't established the proper communication skills with your spouse, then problems are not going to go away. They're just going to continue to build. And also, if you haven't lived with this person long enough to understand their cultural needs and their cultural views, and this is vice versa, this goes hand in hand for me and also for him, adding a child to the mix only increases the tension and the anger and the anxiety. Me having a baby early on was not the smartest move, because I didn't even know culturally what they, how children were born into their cultures. That's a huge, huge thing that I will definitely talk about in another podcast. But when my husband arrived and I got pregnant, my family was like, whoa, we didn't even get to know him and understand him. And that's a thing. Getting families to accept African men into the family is very odd. What is that? It's always like, he's this, he's a terrorist, he's a Unabomber. Like, what are you talking about? No, he's not. Also, he just came here for a visa or a green card. Okay. How many people do you know who've done that? How many situations have you been in where that has happened? That is a stereotype, and we need to stop it. Now, let me say this. There are times where this happens, but not every single instant, And it's like, you should definitely have some confirmation within who you are, that this person that you love, that you want to marry, or that you have married is not doing that. But that's also some research that you need to know, because if you have an inkling of doubt, then there is something else going on there. Me personally, I did not speak the language, but I later on was like, look, I need to know something, because I didn't like sitting in a room amongst him and his friends and his family, not knowing what was being said. That's me. So I came back and I got hooked on phonics for French. Like, you think I'm playing? Bonjour. I'm repeating bonjour. Comment ça va? Comment ça va? When I went to his country, I was like, write down these words for me. I need to look at them phonetically. So now when I call home, or when I'm back, when I call home, I call Senegal affectionately my home, because I honestly swear to God, I feel like I'm from there. But yeah, I can speak. Let's just say this. I can get myself to the restroom and back. I know how to order some food. I know how to get from A to B. And I didn't say Z because I'm not fluent, but I'm comfortable that enough that I feel like my needs, I can address my needs. I can speak to his family, good, bad, in between, emotionally, just fulfilling my emotional needs as well there. And I love his family. I love his culture. I love a lot about that country, Dakar, Senegal. I do. So, not to jump off the scale, but yeah, if you have an inkling of doubt, you need to start to communicate. Like, what question in hand? Do you have another wife? Ask the question. People are so afraid to ask real questions. I know many Africans who will say, yes, I do. But that doesn't stop them from not wanting to be with you, because based on their culture, especially if they're Muslim, they can have more than one wife, right? So you can't be mad about something that you didn't ask about. And vice versa. If he asks you, do you have kids back home? Do you have another guy or another friend? Be completely upfront and open and honest, because it only enhances your relationship. When you're legit about being with somebody, you enhance that security and that trust and that respect. So do it from the gate. That way, when you hear these buzzings in your ear from family, friends, whatever you call these ambivalent relationships with other people included, you won't second guess your relationship. You'll be like, yeah, he told me. No, he's not here for papers. Yes, we're really in love. It's not your business. You know what I'm saying? It is funny how people just dive so heavy into relationships with people who choose to be with people from a different culture or country. They literally take those relationships like it's their own. How old is he? How do you know that's his age? When's his birthday? What did his mom say? Like, what? Girl, bye. Okay. So, but yeah, definitely learn about each other's culture. When I would go back to visit my husband in Senegal, he was always asking me questions about my culture, and that's the truth. He was trying to learn words, just as I was trying to learn words. So if he taught me a word in Wolof, then I taught him how to say that word in English. It's so weird, but the beginning of our relationship was so effortless and was so smooth. It was just it was beautiful. It really, really was. And I understand that if the mountain is smooth, then you can't climb it. I get that. But I am very, when I think about it, I'm nostalgic about how we met and how, us getting to the point of marriage and him coming here was just so beautiful. It really, really was, you guys. I'm not even trying to be funny, nor am I saying that everything in our relationship has been beautiful, because it has not. But we have growth, we have progress, and every little bit of progress is progress, right? Some people want this, magnificent idea of being African and married to an African American, or vice versa, or any culture for that matter. But it's work, and I could be proven wrong, but I will say that being married to someone from a different culture is way more difficult. Way more difficult than being married to someone from your own culture. So, and then lastly, just respect. I'm huge. I'm a huge person on respect, because I think without respect, nothing can work. Nothing can work. You know, my husband's culture is different from mine. I respect his culture. I don't downgrade his culture or negate his culture or negate his choices with our children or negate his thinking process. That's how he was raised, and vice versa. You know, you can't change someone because you love them or because they've come to the United States. You can't change them. They are who they are. And respecting that person's differences is what's really going to drive your relationship. I respect that you want to eat goat every day. I don't, you know? I respect that you love rice like that. You know, it's some of the most interesting things that you can get through and get over with just looking at them, you know, from a respectful standpoint. I don't do things like that, but that doesn't mean I'm going to disrespect you. That just means I need to say from the get, you know, that I respect you enough to understand where you're coming from. I respect you enough to, you know, listen to what you're saying. And then you respect me enough to understand what I'm saying. And then we find some middle ground, you know, in culturally blended relationships. That's key. Like sometimes you're going to weigh heavy on one culture for certain things and, you know, weigh heavy on the other culture for certain things. And sometimes you're going to create your own normal, and that's okay. That is completely okay. So I hope that I have helped you so far with this episode. Just being committed and being too legit to quit with your significant other. Don't allow other people's interpretations of what your love life or life for that matter should look like or be like. Don't allow someone else to determine what happiness looks like for you. If you doubt or have some doubts about this person, definitely start opening up lines of communication, because realistically, everybody doesn't know how to communicate effectively. Everyone isn't born with the strategies and the techniques for expressing themselves or expressing what they've been through or even expressing their culture, because some things that some individuals who come from different cultures, it's not really a spoken language. It's automatic. They've been a part of that culture for so long that when you do something, it's like, you should have known that. But how would I have? How would I have? So definitely open up those lines of communication, and respect one another, respect each other's pasts, respect the fact that they're here with you and they want to try. They want to make this work. Don't create chaos in your relationship by putting things into it when it's not ready. We love our daughter. Don't get me wrong. We love both of our children. But hindsight is 2020, and that's a lot of what my podcast is about. It's just looking at things, from a hindsight point of view. And it's just like, if we would have waited, we would have gotten to know each other a little bit better. I think we still would have, for lack of better words, butt heads, per se, with some things, crossing cultural lines. But I think it would have been a little bit different. But I mean, who's to say, right? So, as I close out feel free to hit me up in the comments section. Tell me about your relationships. Give me some ideas of what you need advice, in or around. Last thing, and before I go, if he or she is worth it, don't let anyone separate or come between the love that you have for one another. All right, you guys.